coming of the Mongolian slave. Truly, wiser words about the Soviet Union have never been spoken before, or about the Russian Empire back in the day. Of course, Marx, thank you very much, my friend. Of course, Marx was speaking about the Russian Empire, but the Soviet Union did not change that much. You know, Lenin, for all his faults, he was a disgusting individual in his own right, Lenin. However, he was not quite as bad as Stalin, that's a certainty. Lenin was actually trying to tackle the alcoholism problem in Russia. He was trying to forbid it to an extent. But you know what happened when Stalin gained power? They figured out that the drunk population is more easy to control. It's far easier to be controlling about the drunk bastards who are ready and able to fight for a little bit of a hit of vodka. Well, my friends, the truth of the matter is nothing has changed. Russia still lives in this backwater mentality. And we need to understand this. We can't negotiate with Russia. We can't deal with Russia. We can't reason with Russia. It's a waste of time, a waste of resources, a waste of money as well. My friends, why not invest in Ukraine's development right now? Ukraine can mass produce drones very cheaply, far cheaper than any country in the free world can. Why not invest in that? Why not make Ukraine the drone factory of the free world? Why not help Ukraine beat back Russia and live together as friends? Why not fix this problem forever and not have to deal with any further wars in Eastern Europe or wherever else Russia decides to destabilize? But no, here we are once again, my friends, trusting in the good sense of Russia, and once again relearning what we knew all along, that Russia cannot be trusted. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. That, my friends, is a big issue nowadays. Many people still think that we can simply talk to Russia, we can talk it through, we can make a deal. The art of the deal, right? It's the art of the deal. Well, you cannot make a deal with those who think you're stupid and who are planning to fool you. You know, there was a widespread belief that Ukraine was going to lose this war in 3 days. The reasons for that belief are very interesting. For those who are interested in this, stick around. Russia was completely and utterly certain in its military capabilities that it could take over Ukraine in 3 days. They were preparing for a parade much more than an actual war. The Americans had very good intelligence on what the Russians thought, what the Russians believed. That's why the Americans predicted the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And you know what? They were right. Everybody in the world should have trusted the Americans when they said that. Back in the days when they still had reason. We should have trusted them. But you know, where's the caveat? The Americans were wrong about one thing. The Americans believed that the Russians had made the right assessment that they could take over Ukraine in 3 days. They did not understand that the Russians did not know how their own military would work. They did not know that the Russians would be this incompetent. So they believed them. But my friends, there is one power of Russia that must never be underestimated under any circumstances whatsoever. Their power to misinform. Russia is the most capable country in this world in terms of misinformation, by far. Look at the resources they have at their disposal. Nothing compared to what the free world has. And yet, they spread lies and deceit, and people buy it. People believe in them. How come? How is this happening? I'll tell you how, my friends. The Russians have focused all of their attention, all of their abilities on this particular skill to make sure that the free world tears itself asunder, like it is right now. They've been successful to a large extent. So we must face them in the sphere as well. We must show the whole world that politics does matter. that not all politicians are the same. Not all countries are the same. We must face against this cynicism, this chronic cynicism that, oh, what does it matter if we vote or not? It's all the same. It does matter. Because if you can no longer vote, you can no longer choose. And if you can no longer choose, you're no longer human. You're but cattle of your regime. That's what happens when you stop being able to imprint your will on the way your country works. That is what happened in Russia. Their people are but cattle of their regime. Little pigs and cows squealing as they march to their deaths. But why? Why is it that the people are allowing this tendency to happen in the free world as well? Why is this happening here, my friend? It should not. People should know better. This country, alongside with many other countries, but especially this country, has fought a war against Nazi Germany. And this country was never on the side of the Nazis. Ever since the beginning of the war, the United Kingdom opposed Nazi Germany ideologically and militarily, fully. But what did the Soviet Union do? Well, they were on the same side in the beginning of World War II. On 9th of May, when we engaged with some Vatniks, with some Russophiles, we asked them a simple question. Whose side did the Soviet Union start World War II on? Whose side were they on? Were they on the side of the Allies or on the side of the Axis powers, of the Nazis? They did not want to answer. I mean, of course they didn't. Because the Soviet Union was helping the Nazis. They scream and shout about, oh, Ukro-Nazis, Ukro-Nazis. But they were cooperating with the Nazis. They gave them the metal, they gave them the oil, they gave them the grain to fuel the Nazi war machine at the beginning of World War II. As the Nazis were invading Poland from the west, the Soviets were invading Poland from the east. That is reality, my friends. Russia never beat fascism. Russia was fascism. It just so happened that fascists oftentimes start eating each other when they feel like they're winning. It happens every single time when fascists take power. It happened in Russia. We could see it loud and clear. We could see Prigozhin in his little failed rebellion against Russia. So good, so much good it did to him. The man was a fool. Honestly, I had to say I overestimated him. I thought he would have been more cunning to know that the Russian terrorist regime could not be trusted when they gave him this pardon, this allowance to go back to Russia and to recruit in Russia. The man should have known. He paid for his mistakes by falling out of the tallest window possible. His plane was struck down near Moscow by the Russian terrorist regime he fought so much for. But this situation, my friends, this case with Prigozhin, it should serve as a lesson to every person on this earth. If you side with Russia, if you help Russia, it does not matter what they promise you. It does not matter whether they promise they will deliver. At the end of the day, no matter what they say they will give you, you will always lose far more than what you will gain. And that, my friends, is a lesson that should have been learned long ago. Slava Ukraini! Slava nacii! Ukraina! Ukraina! Україна! Героям України тричі! Ворогам України тричі! Now, my friends, we're going to have another short musical break.
I'm not sure, but maybe.
Yeah, it's almost likely, right? Like,
I mean, I've done about 9